Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mailbag, the casual, laid-back show where all we do is for a little while here, we just sit back, you and me, talking movies, and all I do is just take the mailbag questions that you have sent in to us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Campia. I'm the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News and host of AMC Movie Talk, and this is our weekend show where, like I said, all we do is take mailbag questions. Now listen. If you've got a question that you would like us to address either on AMC Mailbag or on AMC Movie Talk Monday through Friday, just email us a question to amcmovietalk@gmail.com. So once again, that's amcmovietalk@gmail.com. And then every day, Monday through Friday, we pick out a couple of questions. And then on the weekends, we take a bunch more. And that's what we're here to do. So happy Hunger Games, everybody. It is Hunger Games opens this weekend. I was at the world premiere the other day. Gotta say, we just did our spoiler review. So if you look on our YouTube channel, you should see our Hunger Games spoiler-filled review. Don't watch it unless you have seen the movie already because it's completely filled with spoilers. It's meant for people who've seen the movie. But I'm going to tip you off a little bit here. I loved it. To my surprise, I completely loved it. Like the first Hunger Games movie, I gave it a pass. I liked it. For a Hunger Games film, for a young adult novel book, movie, it was good. It was good. I liked it. Didn't love it, didn't rave about it, didn't go back and watch it again, but I liked it. Hunger Games Catching Fire, though, completely different story. It's legit. Forget a good novel to movie adaptation. Forget a good young adult movie. It's just a good movie. It's really good. So I hope you guys get a chance to run out and see it. So as I mentioned here, all I'm going to do today, very casually, I'm sitting here in my home office, which we effectively refer to as Studio B, and getting ready to take your questions. So here we go. Let's dive into it with question number one. And the first question today comes to us from none other than Jason Rylals, who writes, "Hi AMC Originals. I love the show. My question is, if we should see Alfred in Man of Steel 2, would you like to see the traditional Alfred that we're used to, or would you rather see a butt-kicking former MI6 agent Alfred? Personally, I'm ready for a new butt-kicking Alfred. Your thoughts?" Great question, Jason, and it's one we've kind of addressed before. There's two different ways you can go with Alfred, right? With Alfred, you can have a frail, old, faithful butler, or you can have somebody who's a little bit more physically dominating. And a little bit. I'm not talking about, he's not a ninja in his prime anymore, but and the comic books have given us different variations and iterations. The comic books have given us a bit of a peek at both. I got to tell you, when we addressed this question before, I still have the same answer that I did. I'm ready to see an Alfred who can kick a little bit of butt. Don't get me wrong. I'm not looking for him to be Batman's sidekick or anything like that, but a capable physical threat if somebody were to give him grief. And the person that we talked about before as being a guy I would love to see play Alfred, this type of an Alfred, is Timothy Dalton, former James Bond Timothy Dalton. He is a dude who I think would do it justice. I think he'd be he's a tremendous actor. He showed us in the last couple of seasons of Chuck, he can still do action when he needs to. I think he would be a great balance of an older, wiser Alfred, yet still physically capable of kicking some ass. And I think that Timothy Dalton is a guy. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of actors, I'm sure, who could play the role very, very well. I'm just saying that the guy for me, when I think of Alfred, the guy that pops into my head, that type of an Alfred, the guy that pops in my head is Timothy Dalton. I'd really like to see that. All right, let's move on to question number two. And question number two today comes to us from Mike.C. And Mike.C. writes, "I'm going to ask the obvious question. Why hasn't DiCaprio won an Oscar yet?" I'm going to assume, Mike, that you're referring to Leonardo DiCaprio and not Schmitty DiCaprio, his lesser-known cousin. There's no Schmitty DiCaprio. I'm just making that up. Why hasn't Leonardo DiCaprio won an Oscar yet? Well, this kind of goes back. First of all, it's a fair question because DiCaprio is one hell of an actor. I mean, gone are the days. Remember when people just used to mock the name DiCaprio? It's because, oh, he's just the teenage heartthrob. Oh, he's just the guy on the cover of Teen Bop magazine. He's nothing real. And, you know, people would mock him and things. Well, guess what? Nobody mocks him anymore. because he has proven himself year in, year out to be simply one of the top 5 best actors in Hollywood today. Every time he's in a movie, he just completely brings it. He's on that elite level of actor. That's why legendary directors are constantly looking to work with him. That's why Christopher Nolan wanted him for his lead in Inception. That's why Martin Scorsese goes back to Leonardo DiCaprio again and again and again, because they know he's on that level. And it's just funny that, not so many years ago, everybody was mocking the name Leonardo DiCaprio, Teen Bop Magazine, and now he's the man. And he's been nominated for an Academy Award 3 times. The problem is, and I addressed this before in a mailbag a couple of weeks ago, I think, but it's true here. The principle is the same for the situation with Leo. The Academy Award is probably the hardest award ever to win. Because not only do you have to be a great actor, you have to be the best in one particular year to get an Oscar. I mean, obviously, you can be the best actor in the world, but not turn in the best performance in one particular year and somebody else gets it. Somebody else turns in the performance of a lifetime. They'll never be as good of an actor as you over the span of your career, but that one year, they turn in the performance of a lifetime, like Heath Ledger did with the Joker, right? Like you'll never hear me say Heath Ledger was one of the great actors in Hollywood. He simply wasn't. He was hit and miss. He was cold then warm. Just no consistency. Sometimes when he would hit it out of the park, he'd really hit it out of the park. And then there'd be a lot of performances he'd give that were just really bad. So he's inconsistent. But that one year he played the Joker, man, he turned in the performance of a lifetime. And so too bad for anybody else who turned in great performances in a supporting role that year, because they weren't going to beat Heath Ledger. So when you look at Leonardo DiCaprio, why hasn't he won an award yet? Well, he was nominated at the 1994 Academy Awards for his performance in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Some people still think it might be the best performance he's ever given. It was remarkable. But here's the problem. He ran into Tommy Lee Jones. And Tommy Lee Jones's supporting performance in Fugitive was mind-boggling good. It's my favorite Tommy Lee Jones performance, even more than No Country for Old Men. My favorite Tommy Lee Jones performance is Fugitive. But Leo wasn't even the second best actor that year. I think Ralph Fiennes, he prefers to be pronounced, I'm sorry, Ralph Fiennes for Schindler's List. I mean, I think he deserved it more than Leo that year too. So Leo gave an incredible performance, but there were a couple of guys ahead of him in line that year, so no Oscar for Leo. Okay. Then the next Academy Award he was nominated for was for the 2005 awards, in which he was nominated for Blood Diamond? No, for Aviator. And he was marvelous in The Aviator. He was fantastic. But guess what? That year in The Aviator, he ran into Jamie Foxx giving the performance of his lifetime in Ray. He simply wasn't better than Ray that year. As a matter of fact, I'd say out of the 5 nominees, Leonardo DiCaprio that year deserved to be nominated, but he comes in 5th place behind Jamie Foxx for Ray, Don Cheadle for Hotel Rwanda, Clint Eastwood for $1 Million Baby, Johnny Depp, my favorite Johnny Depp performance for Finding Neverland. So there were 4 other guys in front of Leonardo DiCaprio that year. So no Oscar for Leo. All right, 2007. By now, most of Hollywood knows Leo DiCaprio is a force. So maybe he'll get one this year. Well, he gets nominated for Blood Diamond. Terrific performance in Blood Diamond. The problem is, in the 2007 Academy Awards, he ran into Forrest Whitaker in this little film called The Last King of Scotland. And it went nobody that year that was going to beat Forrest Whitaker in The Last King of Scotland. He just ran into a truck. I mean, that's it. So Leo was great, but Forrest Whitaker in Last King of Scotland, just a little bit better. And so no Oscar for Leo. And so that's why, look, dude, that's why these great actors like Brad Pitts and a lot of the other guys who they start making decisions in their careers, not for money anymore, not for blockbusters, but for Oscars, trying to get that Oscar because you can have this magnificent career and never win. You can be the best, yet not the best in that one year. And it is one of the most elusive awards you can possibly get. Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the best actors alive who doesn't have an Oscar on his shelf yet. And that's just a testament to hard. Look how long it took Martin Scorsese. I go back to it took Martin Scorsese like 30 years to win one. No one's going to debate the greatness of Martin Scorsese, but it took him 30 years before he hit that 1 year where he was the best that particular year. Even though he's one of the best overall, that one particular year, he finally got it for The Departed. So why hasn't Leo got one yet? He hasn't deserved one yet. He's good enough to have 5 Oscars on his mantle, but he keeps running into guys who turn into performances of lifetimes. And it's tough. He doesn't have one because it's tough to get. All right, let's move on to the third question. And the third question today comes to us from Celestine Pang. I hope I'm saying your name right. Hi, AMC crew. Love the show. I recently heard rumors about the Riddler appearing as the villain in the upcoming Batman vs. Superman or Man of Steel 2 and will be played by rapper Eminem. I personally feel it's a great idea, as Eminem did a great job in 8 Mile as an actor. He also suits the personality, crazy and funny, of the Riddler, in my opinion. I would like to hear your opinions on this. Thanks, and have a nice day. Well, Celestine, let's get a couple things clear here, okay? Yes, there was a rumor going around, but the rumor wasn't that Eminem got the role of the Riddler. The rumor was that Eminem said he would like to play the Riddler. So that's the rumor. And we don't even know that that's true. And I'll tell you why we don't even know that's true. Because you know what the source of that rumor was? A story in the National Enquirer. That's the source. The National Enquirer. So the National Enquirer says that Eminem would like to play the Riddler. So let's get that really clear. There's no report anywhere suggesting that Riddler's going to be in Man of Steel, let alone Eminem would be the guy playing him. So there is no report that says that. There was, however, about a month and a half ago, a rumor started by the National Enquirer that Eminem said he would like to play the Riddler. So, okay, let's play hypotheticals then. Would I be interested, number one, in seeing the Riddler in Man of Steel 2? No. I would like to see the Riddler in some incarnation of Batman moving forward, yes. But in Batman vs. Superman, Man of Steel 2, no, I don't want Riddler in that film. I don't want the Joker in that film. I'm sure we'll get Joker later on too with the Ben Affleck Batman, but not yet. This isn't the time. The second part of the question is, okay, what would I feel about an Eminem? I wouldn't at all, personally. He's not an actor. And you know what? A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people rave about the performance Eminem gave in 8 Mile. I wasn't that impressed by it, personally. But I want to acknowledge that a lot of people like you did like it, and all film is subjective. So your opinion, whether you liked it or not, no less valid than my opinion, whether I liked it or not. But yeah, for me personally, I wasn't that impressed. He was just playing himself. He was just being him on camera. And even then, I didn't think it was all that convincing. I think his performance in that got overpraised. He's not a trained actor. And I think that was in 2002, 2003. So look, if they were going to put a Riddler in a Batman film now, say Man of Steel 2, I would hope that Warner Brothers would give enough respect to the character of the Riddler and to the franchise as a whole to get somebody who's actually a real actor and let them do it. That would be my hope. I think it would be a real slap in the face to Batman fans everywhere if you got a non-actor to just jump in and think, oh, well, anybody can play the Riddler. Let's go get that rapper who's not even an actor. He just was in a movie once that he put together himself and he's played himself. Let's let him be the Riddler. I think that would be a slap in the face to a lot of Batman fans. And I think it would be a slap in the face to the character. And I wouldn't be for it personally at all. I mean, it's totally cool if you have a different opinion than me on this. Totally cool. But since you're asking me my opinion, that's my opinion. All right, let's move on to the next question. I believe it is the fourth question today. Yes, the fourth question today comes to us from Nicholas Carmona, who writes, "Hello, sons of AMC. Love the show, and it has become my addiction." Well, thanks so much, Nicholas. The other day on Mailbag, you talked about Hunger Games Catching Fire and Iron Man 3 battling for biggest box office of the year. But have you guys forgotten of this little movie coming out on December, or in December, I should say, called The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug? Last year, this was one of the movies that broke the $1 billion mark, and it's a sequel that is coming out right just a year after. I think The Hobbit has a bigger chance of getting close to Iron Man 3 than The Hunger Games Catching Fire. What are your thoughts? Well, I'll tell you, Nicholas, I'm looking forward to The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, more than I was The Hunger Games. And Hunger Games turned out to be great, by the way. I think I already mentioned that, but it bears repeating. It's really, really good. I think you guys are going to like it. It's much better than the first one. That being said, I'm one of the guys who adored the first Hobbit film. I loved it. I was a little kid sitting in that theater on that midnight showing of the first screening of The Hobbit, just going bananas. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful and magical, and it whisked me away to Middle Earth again. I freaking loved it. But why am I then saying that I think Hunger Games has a better chance of catching Iron Man 3 than The Hobbit does? And the reason is that even though I love The Hobbit that much, there were a lot of people who didn't. There were a number of people out there who actually just flat out didn't like The Hobbit and who said they walked out disappointed. I don't know what they're talking about, and I think they've taken their crazy pills. But the reality is that there were a number of people, I think it's got like a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. You compare that against the Rotten Tomatoes numbers of the Lord of the Rings films, and that's terrible. Even though 65 is an okay number, compared to the other Lord of the Rings films, it's terrible. So I think the fact of the matter that we just had that Hobbit film last year, and there were a number of people who expressed that they didn't like it all that much, even though I did, and I know a lot of people who love it, but I also know a number of people who didn't. I have a feeling it's not going to exceed the box office numbers of the first Hobbit. Which is fine. I mean, make another $1 billion. It's okay. The studio will be just fine, and they'll be thrilled with another $1 billion. Maybe it won't make $1.4 billion, but I'm pretty confident it's going to cross the $1 billion mark again. But I don't know how much further beyond it it's going to go, just because, like I said, of all the negativity I read from a bunch of people about it, not that it was the majority of people, but a larger number of people seem to express negative feelings about than I thought they should. So because of that, I have a feeling, and I'm not feeling really strongly about this. I'm not willing to put money on this. I'm just saying I've got a feeling that Hunger Games Catching Fire will end up making more money than The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. I hope I'm wrong, and I'm not feeling strongly about it. I really hope The Hobbit exceeds expectations and does great. I cannot wait for this movie. I'm so bananas beside myself. Cannot wait to watch this film, especially with the recent trailers. But yeah, I'm going to stick with it, that I think Hunger Games will make more. And at the end of December, or maybe around mid-January, we'll know for sure. And hopefully at that point I can say, yes, I was wrong. That would be cool. All right, let's move on to the fifth question. And the fifth question today comes to us from Film Fanatic, who writes, "Hey AMC, love the show. I've watched every episode for a couple of months now. My question revolves around Mark Webb's quote about expanding the SpiderMan universe over multiple interrelated films. What do you think about the idea of Sony following Marvel Studios' success in making interrelated films of their individual superheroes who eventually team up in the Avengers, of course their version of the Avengers, by doing the same thing with the members of the Sinister Six who could eventually team up in a future Spider-Man movie? For example, Doc Ock could have his own movie and then be like the Nick Fury character who finds Kraven the Hunter and others. We could finally see the villains win for once in their individual movies. Then, in the next Spider-Man movie, we can see them all team up in an epic fight." Hey, Film Fan, thanks a lot for the question. I gotta disagree with you. I don't think that would be good, and I don't think it would work. We are going to see the Sinister Six, and we are going to see, the individual villains pop up here and there prior to the big Sinister Six battle, whether this can be in Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 4. I got a feeling it's going to be Spider-Man 4 or Spider-Man 5. But there's a reason they don't do villain movies. And you notice whenever there is a villain movie, it's not really a villain movie. It's about a person who later becomes a villain, but the movie's about them as a good person. Like even, I think Maleficent, which is coming out with Angelina Jolie, and that looks really cool. I think a lot of that movie is going to revolve around her becoming bad. And really the story about how she was a good person, that then what happened, how she descended into evil. I think we saw that the whole prequels, Star Wars prequels, was basically taking Anakin and then showing him becoming bad. I can't really think of a movie that's been about the bad guy, where the bad guy is the protagonist. And I think it's a very difficult thing to do. And I don't think Spider-Man would do it. And it doesn't really make much sense. Now, that being said, I do think Sony, we talked about on AMC Movie Talk yesterday. I do believe the Spider-Man universe at Sony is angling everything to have their own shared universe. I think we're going to see a Venom movie. I think we're going to see a Black Cat movie. I think we're going to see several other characters pop up with their own films, team up. I think we're going to see Spider-Man and Venom team up and fight Carnage at some point. That's what I believe. I got nothing to back that up with. That's just me speculating. But that's where I think they're going. I think Sony sees Fox creating their big shared universe between all the X-Men and Fantastic Four. They see Warner Brothers creating their Justice League universe. They see Marvel doing all their stuff with their Avengers universe. Sony wants in on that action. So they're going to start launching, and we heard the president of Sony actually say as much. We're going to be developing other properties as well for a big shared universe. And so I believe we're going to see like Venom as kind of a dark hero at some point, and I think we're going to see Black Cat. I don't know who else, but then I do think we're going to see them intermingling, working together. I think Carnage is going to come on the scene at some point. We're going to see the disbanding of the Sinister Six. I think a lot of really cool stuff is going to happen. I just don't think we're going to see individual villain films and then the big team up as the villains in the Sinister Six. I don't think that's the way they're going to go, nor do I think it's the way they should go. I don't think I don't think it would work. Maybe it would. Maybe your idea is brilliant. But for me, I just don't see it happening. All right. And the last question I'm going to take today comes to us from Jameson Plackton, who writes, "Hi, AMC. I love AMC Movie Talk. Why are there so many trailers for a single movie? I know you can choose not to watch them, the trailers, but my question is, why do they make so many of them? I feel like if someone saw all the trailers of a lot of movies, it would give away basically the whole movie. They should just come out with like one good trailer and leave it at that so they do not give too much of the movie away." Jameson, you're bringing up a great point that I have asked myself a lot over the years. And like for one movie, what was it? I'm trying to remember the movie that it was. There was this one particular movie that ended up having like 8 or 9 trailers. It felt like it had a new trailer every week. And a lot of the same footage in the trailers, but a lot of new stuff in every trailer as well. And it's like, holy crap, do you realize if you just took all these trailers and pieced them together, of this 100-minute movie, maybe 110-minute movie, we've got about 10 minutes of the footage. We basically have like 10% of the movie in just all these trailers. It shouldn't happen. I think, a movie should put out like tops 3 trailers. But the reason we've seen the proliferation of these trailers, and there used to be a day when a movie would have 1 trailer. That was the trailer. Now there's like 3, 4, 5, then 2 international versions, 3 Asian versions, another domestic one, 6 TV spots that are all a little bit different. It's all this kind of stuff. And the reason I think that we've seen the proliferation of one movie having like so many trailers is that it used to be that you'd see a trailer for a movie like 2 months before it would come out. Right? Do you remember those going back to olden days? Do you remember those days? For those of you who are over 30, when a movie was coming out, you'd expect the trailer to hit like 2 months in advance. Maybe 2.5 months in advance. That's when you'd expect to start seeing the trailers. But now marketing machines really start revving up like full blast, like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, a year before the movies ever come out. Like they're showing us trailers at Comic-Con for movies that aren't coming out for a year. And then, so you get people buzzing, but you can't just leave it at that. You got to keep them buzzing. So a month or 2 later, you got to give them another little, maybe a 10-second clip from a scene. And then a month later, you got to give them another trailer with a little bit more stuff in it. So you get them on the hook early and keep them on the hook. And the consequence, I understand why they do it. I do. Pardon me. But the consequence of that is we end up seeing a lot of footage before we ever go into the theater and watch it. And that's why I've got some friends of mine that are like, I just don't watch trailers anymore. Like maybe I'll watch, I got a couple friends who are like, I'll watch the first trailer and then I will not watch or read anything else because, hey, you watch the trailer, you got a taste, you get a sense of what the tone of the film is going to be like, but now you don't want to see anymore and you just stop watching it. And it's going to get to the point, I think, where there's going to be more and more people doing that. I understand, once again, I understand why they do it. I understand the rationale behind it. I understand the means behind it and the method behind it and their motivation behind it. And I don't disagree with them. But there is a consequence to it, and that's just we're starting to see a little too much. And but I also think it is a system that will eventually balance itself out. I really do. Maybe it'll take another 2 or 3 years, but I think you'll start to see a reduction in the number of trailers as soon as they figure out a way to really market just as heavy without just relying on trailers. And that's going to be a tough egg to crack, but when they do, I think everybody will be a lot happier for it. All right, folks. Well, that will do it for me for today. I've run all out of questions, at least the ones that we have picked out and put into graphic form so you could see them. So that'll do it for me. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my weekend. Don't forget to tune back in again tomorrow for another installment of AMC Mailbag, the Sunday edition. It will be pre-recorded. It won't be live, just like this one is. So thanks so much. Once again, if you want a question asked on air, email us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. And listen, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. My name's John Campea. You can follow me on the various social media networks, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Thanks so much for joining me. And until next time, bye-bye.